Holy smokes, 15 straight for Cleveland. It is target practice for the Cavaliers.
This is like a cone drill.
Where you're just seeing a Heat team that is just being outmatched, outclassed. And Cleveland just will not stop.
Well, that was something, wasn't it?
Which part? Beginning or the?
All of it.
All of it.
It was something.
Yes.
That series is over.
Yes, it is.
It's a sweep for the Cleveland Cavaliers after a historic closeout win on the road by 55 in a game that was never even a little bit in doubt, really from the opening tip. This is Playoff Central Live. Devin Harris, Vince Carter, former teammates twice, now 3 times, including this. I expect some deep analysis on this from the two of you.
Okay, we'll give it to you.
This was
first half
43-17 in the first quarter. That tied a postseason record for the most lopsided first quarter in playoff history, and it never really got any better from Miami's perspective.
Miami looked like a team that just their spirit was broken.
Yes.
I mean, from the very first play all the way out to the fourth quarter, it just were uninterested, and just you talked about it before, just a pride game.
Yes.
Were they going to come out and fight? And I don't think this team had any fight left. And Cleveland did a phenomenal job just coming out with disposition from jump, and just they jumped on them. And once you throw that first haymaker, they just didn't get back up off the mat.
I would describe this as a very professional win by the Cavaliers because they never really stopped playing, right? It was out of hand. They didn't do anything silly, very businesslike, kept playing. They challenged to play in the third quarter when they were up by like 45 points and won it.
They had a goal in mind, and whatever the motivation was in that speech from the coach coming out, whatever that may be, they stuck to it. And, you heard Donovan Mitchell say that he prefers to continue to play, but at the same time, you take care of business to get the rest of your guys healthy. But at the same time, they had a game plan in mind to come out and attack offensively, but more so defensively. They were like once the ball was released, ball in the air, anywhere, they were going after it. And you could just see, like they said, they were taking the life. Like you said, we have you in a chokehold from the jump. And I think they attacked Tyler Herro. Yeah. We're going to go at their best player, make him guard, and frustrate him. And you could tell they were frustrated. And then they just shut it off, and that was it.
Defensively, I mean, it was a clinic. I mean, they didn't allow anybody really to get into rhythm. We talked about where's the offense going to come from. Yeah. Does it come from Tyler Herro? No, it didn't come from that. Bam, got off to a slow start. Wiggins picked it up a little bit in the third quarter, but they took everybody out of the game from the start of the game defensively. And then offensively, it was a three-point clinic. I mean, everybody hitting threes, spacing the floor out, ball movement. It was just a clinic all the way around.
I'll say one thing. Tyler Herro, 4 points and minus 44.
Right. Let's get inside Miami. Kenny Atkinson's Cavs are moving forward.
Hey, just before we get started, just want to again reiterate my respect for the Miami Heat, their program. They went through a gauntlet before they played us, so we had a big advantage, big physical advantage. So it's pretty amazing what they did. As a 10th seed to win 2 playing games on the road, and then we had 7-8 days of rest. So and I always appreciate the class they play with. Win, lose, they don't play dirt. They don't play dirty. They're win with humility. When they lose, they're just a class program. Just utmost respect for their club, their coaching staff, players in that locker room.
Kenny, we talked before the game about how difficult closeout games can be. Obviously, this had a very wide margin of victory, and as both games down here did, how did you guys avoid complacency after building a 2-0 lead at home?
Great leadership. That first 5 minutes, I think Jared Allen, probably led by him, but led by our starters. And then, Dan, when our bench comes in, we don't skip a beat, right? We even, get stronger, so, but we came down here with the right mentality. And again, I just say our maturity, our leadership, all that stuff we've been talking about all year. We don't seem to have letdowns, and that's rare. It's just rare, with any team. We rarely have letdowns.
You mentioned in your opening statement the rest before the series. Now taking care of business, you get that again going into the second round. How important is that
huge
for another playoff?
It's huge. I think we'll see what happens. It gives us a day or 2 days. This is looking big picture. Hopefully we can extend this thing but it'll it gives us another advantage. We've done our work early all year, came out of the gate and play really well. And then, getting this first seed, it's, that's how you do it. That's, if you're going to script it, this is how you do it. You try to, get series over so you can get your rest and sleep in your own bed. And then you have some practice time too. And then heal the bumps and bruises.
Right. Speaking of Jarrett, with his success rate in this series, is there anything that just stood out to you with him the last 4 games?
I mean, defensively, I thought he was phenomenal. His activity at the rim, but I thought, this is the first time I've really seen him extend his defense to the 3-point line. That was part of our scouting report. We gotta pressure their bigs because obviously we're top blocking, Herro. So if you do that, you have to have great pressure. So, he's usually more back, playing lower. And I thought, that was great. And then offensively, his ability to get out of the pick and roll, we were running a lot of small pick and rolls. So he wasn't involved as much as he usually is, but him running the floor, him playing the dunker, and then, his timely rebounds, offensive rebounds. He had a great series.
Chris.
Hey, Kenny, there have been various points throughout the course of this year where you've said something along the lines of, I see a focus level with this team in practice and shoot around that kind of informs me of what's coming from the group. Did you sense that from this team earlier today at shoot around? Yeah.
But you never know. But again, Chris, it's like, led by Donovan and our kind of big four, those guys set the right tone, send the right message to the guys. I really don't have to say anything. It's all kind of been said amongst them before I get to my pregame speech or film. There's just a connection and a camaraderie and our leaders kind of send the right message and everybody kind of follows.
And then what was the adjustment that you made over the last 2 games to get DeAndre more involved in the offense?
That's a good question. We really didn't make any adjustments. I think it was just him kind of gaining more confidence and being more comfortable. Ty find him, Ty scoring actually helped because they started to blitz Ty and then Andres found some catch and shoot threes. And once he saw a few go down, I think that just fueled him. And then I thought he was really good, recognizing the cross matches and the mismatches in transition. Another guy, he had a phenomenal series.
Joe.
So as you remember, of course, when DeAndre got to Cleveland, he was all world for a month.
Yeah.
And then from mid-March to maybe up to the other day.
Yeah.
Not as good. Did you ever get concerned that we wouldn't get back to the DeAndre that we had seen that the first month there?
My only concern was from my perspective, I'm kind of not finding the right, position for him to succeed. That's the first thing you look at. And, am I relying too much on the other guys that I know? You always say that with a new guy, but, Joe, I said this before, I think it was circumstances. Guy hadn't been home. We go on that hellacious road trip. He kind of gets off his routine, doesn't have a place. He's staying in the hotel. I just think he got off, kind of off kilter, and where maybe in the beginning he was just coming in with adrenaline. So once he got back, kind of got his feet under him, he took off again. So I think a lot of it was circumstances.
And then I'm not trying to use your words against you. I know why you said it at the start of the series, but leading into this series, you were saying that playing the Heat, they're so tough. You're going to learn some things. You're going to be a better team because you had played against them, all those things.
Yeah.
And then you won the series by 122 points. I don't think that's ever happened in the NBA before. And so I guess the question just is, what did you learn in this series?
Well, I will say those first two games were close, right? Like we imagine if they get one of those games, and they could have gotten, they could have gotten both. I think Spo said the same thing. So, and maybe I'm being, like super, kind of paranoid or overthinking this thing, but, those first two games, could have gone either way. And so, I thought we learned a lot about ourselves in those first two games, cause we had to, kind of fight through that. And then coming here was a mentality. Like you're on the road, especially game 3, I think that was, this game, whatever, I think game 3 was a big one, and we just came out and hit first and had a great mindset. So you learn, right? Every series you learn something. So I'll stand by that statement. When you play this team, this club, it was, I think it helped us get more battle tested.
Kenny, congrats.
Thank you.
I'd like to stop for 10 seconds and bring you back to mid-September, the end of September, in the very beginning of the season.
Yeah.
What memories do you have in your mind of those first days working with this group? And if in that moment you could imagine how is the team right now and at this level, at this moment,
yeah,
the semifinals with this level?
Yeah, I think I've said this a couple of times, but, after the first 2 days of training camp, all the coaches, we go in and we talk, we're just like, wow, like this team is so skilled. They're so together. And they compete like super hard. That was after 2 days of training camp. Like that was, but at no time did we say, hey, we're going to be the first seed I remember we lost the first, we lost the 4 exhibition games, right? And then going to Chicago and absolutely get right? Like we couldn't keep up with them. And, so it wasn't like, oh man, we got this great team. I know they say don't pay attention to preseason, but we're a little nervous, like what, kind of what's going on here. But again, these guys know them. So they kind of have a pretty good confidence about themselves. But I didn't have that feeling after preseason.
Yeah. Kenny, what does it say about this team that you guys can come to Miami for 2 games without Darius Garland and win those games back and find 92 points?
Yeah, I mean that's one of your all-star players. It just goes to show how deep we are, right? And Darius was out, but that gave Dean some more minutes. We could kind of tie more minutes. Just shows how deep we are. And legitimately deep, right? Like not, okay, man, this guy came out of the, rotation players that can really contribute to winning. I'm not sure there's any team in the league that can go that deep with so many rotation players.
Okay, so
all right. Thanks, everybody. Safe.
Very gracious Kenny Atkinson after an easy round 1. Job's not done yet, but boy, they made that first phase of the job look awfully simple. Andrew Wiggins wondering what just hit the Heat.
Haymaker.
Oof. More of our press conference coverage coming up. The Miami Heat are a proud franchise. Erik Spoelstra is a very proud and competitive head coach, and he is striding purposefully to that microphone in Miami.
First, I'd like to just congratulate Cleveland. They're a hell of a basketball team. They're going to be on probably a long run right now, but they're well coached. They have a group that fits and plays the right way. So we were humbled, but they had so much to do with a lot of how we looked. None of us would have guessed, the series would have gone this way coming out of our two play-ins, and even how we competed in the first two games, but they just took it to another level. Obviously, we didn't play well, and we didn't meet any kind of level from there, but they left us behind these last two games. I'll be able to separate, this. Because this is, a group that it's a shame that, we'll be remembered for these two home games here and taking a 4-0 sweep, because this group showed a lot of character and resilience. It was a fun group to be around, especially those last 8 weeks of the season while we were just grinding, grinding, and then playing our best basketball at the end of the season when it mattered. It was a fun group to be around. I felt fully alive, as alive as I've felt, in a while in a regular season. It's a big credit to this group and how connected this group was, how this group was really playing for each other. But it'll be a story that nobody really cares about because of how it ended, and I get it. But I feel for the locker room. This group has put a lot into this season, and to be able to overcome a lot of things, and then to have, those two play-in games where most people would say, what's the big celebration? Mediocrity, but it was a lot of fun. When we won in Atlanta and flying to Cleveland, it was just a lot of fun on that plane ride. Really felt like this group was connected. I wish it was, potentially, we had somebody else, just to extend this. But Cleveland's a hell of a basketball team.
You touched on it somewhat there, Spo, but how do you make sense of the whole year? I mean, there were some highs, there were some lows, there were the 10-game streak and all that stuff. I mean, it's just
there's a lot of lows, probably more lows, but the thing that I'll always remember about this group was that all the adversity that we fought through it, to end up playing our best basketball. We were a couple plays here or there from going 8 straight, possibly 10 straight, go 10 down and then 10 straight. Like, it's that close. It would have been a great story. But more importantly, it's, this league and this association, a long NBA season, you're always given that opportunity for that gift of adversity, and, to have a group that responded in the way that you wanted a group to respond, to become more connected, to develop more resolve, to try to overcome, things. It was a fun experience. I think I became better from it. I hope the players became better from it. But damn, it was humbling. This series was humbling. These last two games were embarrassing. But Cleveland's also a very good team. We won whatever we won. They won 65. We're as irrational as we usually are, thinking that we have a chance to win this series. And they showed us why, we weren't ready, for that.
Last year's playoff series against Boston kind of set the tone for Tyler's offseason. What lessons do you think Tyler could take from this series in these last?
We'll get to that. Like, all these experiences are super important for all of our guys. I had a great game too, but it didn't. We just couldn't get it over the top to win. They schemed him, which is going to happen for the rest of his career. He's a competitor, so he loves that kind of challenge. And he'll figure it out. He'll have a great offseason. I don't want to think about that right now, but I know Tyler. I know what he's about. He's going to work, and he'll come back better from this.
It's no doubt been a hectic season for Bam and Tyler leading the group, whether it be roster changes in the middle of the season and stuff like that. You mentioned it. Can this sort of humbling loss like this build character for them going into the future, especially?
They already have the competitive character, but these kind of losses, and getting swept, it can motivate you. Those guys have great competitive character, and a drive. This league is tough. You got to be about it. Those two guys are about it, and it's not like a bunch of teams have figured it out. I'm looking around, and it's like every playoff series there's a lot of parity right now. This is embarrassing, but there's going to be a bunch of teams that are out like with us too, that have big aspirations. But they'll get to work. I just mentioned Tyler, but Bam, is the ultimate winner. He's going to figure it out too, and collectively when we get, back together, these lessons for the young guys that had an experience in this, in the two play-ins, in this playoff series, will become better, from it. There's no way to fast track it unless you go through it. And sometimes there's pain, from that. I said it with a couple of our young guys. We needed the 25-year-old version now. Can't do that, obviously. You got to go through the experiences to get that. But I really enjoyed this group. I enjoyed the young guys. I enjoyed the vets. To push through, and everybody felt the same way as I do. It's embarrassing, but I think everybody felt this will be, at least the regular season and the two play-ins, something that the guys will remember, moving forward.
You said it.
You could really divide the Heat season into the before Jimmy Butler trade period and the post Jimmy Butler trade period, because there was all the tension, some suspensions as well, whole thing kind of festering before the deal was finally made. Afterward, Andrew Wiggins, Davion Mitchell, Kyle Anderson all showed up. First round pick that they will have in June comes along as well. But after a couple of play-in wins, it took an ugly turn against the Cavaliers, who go plus 122 in this 4-game sweep. Here's Tyler Herro, an all-star this season, and a humbling finish.
Tyler, obviously with the 55-point loss, these back-to-back, losses, was this something that even scratched your mind that could happen? Obviously, Spoelstra about how he didn't even see this coming.
It was obviously, leaving Cleveland. We came back to Miami. We definitely didn't expect this. Tough, last two games for us, both, 40-point, 50-point losses, really no excuses for it. It's embarrassing, and definitely humbling, a lot of work to be put in, and, have a good opportunity to come back, obviously, next season and try to figure this out.
Tyler, for all the changes you made in your game after the Boston experience last year, and there were successes with those changes at times in this series, but overall, with how Cleveland defended you, what are the lessons now you take out of this series?
I just got to watch the film and see what I can do to get better. Obviously, the last two games, it's very tough on me to play like that as the leader of the team. That's obviously not acceptable, and, it's got to be better.
Tyler, you guys have obviously been through a lot this season, just from the start of it. How would you kind of sum up what the season has been like for you guys?
It's a lot of it's a roller coaster, ups and downs. At different points, we thought we were finding a little traction, and then a couple great games, and then it'd go back downhill. So there's no real consistency in our play. And that was kind of the last 2 or 3 weeks. We played really well in those 2 playing games to get us to this point. And that's kind of what led us to think that obviously we didn't think we would have got swept how bad we got swept. And it was, very humbling. But, we'll back to the drawing board and, we figure out things to do.
Tyler, what goes through your mind when it's whatever, the lead's 29 in the first quarter and 39, whatever it was at halftime, and 60 in the fourth? Like, these aren't numbers you'd ever think of happening in an NBA game. What were you thinking seeing those numbers on the board?
Well, our season is on the line, obviously, with the game tonight. So when you go down that quick, obviously a little bit of doubt starts to creep in. But like I said, none of us expected this. Especially leaving Cleveland after game 2, it felt like, the first half and if game 2 didn't go how we wanted it, but we fought back. We were down 20 at half, fought back, made it a possession game at the end. I still lost the game, but coming back to Miami, we felt like we had something there, and obviously it didn't work out in our favor.
Thank you, Tyler.
Appreciate you.
This one's going to sting for a little while. Heat were minus 122 over the 4-game series. That is the worst in NBA history on a per-game basis.
That's rough.
That is rough. That is a good way to put it.
It's like that's really all you can say. That's rough.
Not good. Not great. Total domination from the Cavaliers. We'll hear from the winning side on the other side.
Dunk shot.
I'm told we're contractually obligated to do the highlight of this game.
Yeah. Okay.
And so we will. Game 4, Cavaliers, chance to close out the Heat. And the dramatic part of the game lasted about 14 seconds.
Here we go.
First play of the game.
All right. Run our offense.
No.
Statue of Liberty.
It was sort of a Statue of Liberty, wasn't it? And Donovan Mitchell, 3 over Tyler Herro. Evan Mobley gets into it. 26-point first quarter lead. That tied a postseason record for margin after a first quarter.
Goodness.
Knockout punches, and there's knockout punches. This is a TKO in the first round.
Cleveland shot 62%, 6 of 11 from 3-point range in the first quarter.
Just precision with cuts, passes, screens. Look at downhill. They found their matchups. They took advantage of it, making shots, everything. He said he was too small. See you, DeAndre.
They also held Miami to 30% shooting in the first half. Second verse, same as the first. 39-point halftime lead.
Never took their foot off the pedal.
No.
Look how open this shooters are.
This is how you know it's going real bad.
And that was their second quarter-ending buzzer beater of the game. How often does that ever happen?
It's rare.
Miami didn't play well, but some crazy things happened in this game. 2 buzzer beaters by the same team?
Yeah.
Remarkable. 138-83, a 55-point margin, plus 122 over the 4-game series. They knocked down 77 threes on 44% shooting for the 4 games. 77 threes ties the NBA playoff record for a 4-game series. In fact, ties the 2016 Cleveland Cavaliers, who did it to the Hawks back in that year. Just a lot there. Jared Allen, second ever to have a double-double with no misses or turnovers in a playoff game. Felt like the whole team was doing that.
They all had some history.
It is remarkable for certain. Let's get back inside Miami.
Damn, 5-5?
Yeah.
That's 42.
One field goal champion.
2 different vibes, right? You're still locked in.
All right.
Donovan, you talked after Game 3, and Kenny talked about the closeout game being the most difficult one in a series. That obviously you guys had a blowout win tonight. How did you not allow this group to become complacent?
This guy right here. We all had the mindset. Max sent a text last night in the group chat, just reminding us. And it really speaks to the collectiveness of the group, what we have. And then when you get out there and he sets the tone with a steal and a dunk. You know what I'm saying? Like, it really, you know. And then he had some words that he said to me that I won't repeat, but that's when I knew we were going to win. Like, that just speaks to where we're all at. And, you know, that's the biggest thing, just the maturity level as a group. But, you know, we handled our business, and this is the toughest game of the series. And, you know, for us, we really set the tone, and that's something to be proud of.
You guys came to Miami and won 2 games without Darius available because of his injury, and you won those games by 92 points combined. What does that say about the rest of this group?
As a group, you know, next man up. You know, we've shown it all year. When I've been out, when you haven't been out, when Ev's been out, but DG's been out, we've shown it all year. We're a resilient group. You know, everybody's ready. And that just speaks to, you know, us, our work ethic, our collectiveness, and then, you know, Kenny for putting us in the right spots consistently.
For either one of you guys, you talked before the series started, no matter what happens, you're going to gain something from the series against Miami, and it's going to make you better for this playoff journey ahead. What do you feel like that was?
Our intensity on the defensive end. I feel like that took leaps and bounds every single game that we played, and tonight was an excellent showing of how intense we can play, what level and standards that we can be at every single night.
Donovan, what did the text read from Max?
It said, I'm gonna make sure I can read all of it. Take care of business so we can get some rest into the next round. Let's take all the advantages we can get, plus other words. But that just speaks to our group, man. Like, it's everybody. You know what I mean? Like, you can point to Jay, you can point to me, Ev, like, you know, and Max has been that guy for us consistently. But, like, it just speaks to our group and our camaraderie, and understanding the moment, you know, which is huge.
Tyler Herro was talking a lot of trash throughout the course of this series, and
You've been waiting for this one. You've been waiting.
He finished 1 of 10 from the field with 4 points. Can you just speak to Max's defensive effort, your guys' defensive effort, to neutralize him?
Big time, man. When, you know, Max Strus, Sam Merrill, DeAndre Hunter, Dean Wade, just continuing to take that challenge. You know, he's not a bad player at all by any means, but making his life tough, you know, that's the goal. And, you know, the stats, you know, show how great of a defensive effort we've put together, you know, to kind of stop him. And, you know, for it to be like it was tonight was huge in a closeout game. And you got to give all the credit to those guys, man, who continuously, you know, put the work in defensively. And then also on the offensive end, they're also running around and continually getting on the boards, making shots. So, give Max a lot of credit, give Sam a lot of credit, Dean, Dre, Ice, you know, everybody, you know, continue making it tough.
Kenny was just talking about DeAndre after the trade, all the circumstances that he went through, the road trips, and maybe never quite settling in now that he was able to maybe catch his breath a bit.
Right.
When you get a more maybe dynamic DeAndre Hunter, what does that do for you guys?
It just opens it up for everybody else. I feel like this whole playoff series, he started out 0 points the first game. He just kept getting more and more comfortable. And I think that just speaks to how we were on offense. You know, he came in game 3, and that really opened up the whole game. Everybody was getting shots. Ty and Dre were working together. When he's comfortable and he's in the flow of things, it makes the offense run so much smoother.
You guys beat an NBA team by 55 in a playoff game. Is there any point during the game that you just take a moment to let that in?
Yeah, I was telling Jalen Tyson, man, like, this is special. I was telling him, like, this is your first playoff series. This is what you're watching. This, like, something this shit isn't normal. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, appreciate the moment. Appreciate, you know, we've said it all series. This is not a 10 seed team. Like, you know what I mean? This is a very talented team, that we were playing against, competing against. So, enjoying the moment. I think we maybe got 2 days to do that, and then it's time to lock in on whoever it is. So, we have a bigger goal in mind, you know, I think for us, understanding that this is special. We've been doing special things all year, but we didn't come here just to sweep in the first round and get to the second. You know what I mean? So the goal is how can we, you know, take advantage of this rest, this break, and then be ready to go for next round.
It could be easy to forget, and I know I did, that the first 2 games of the series were pretty close. So how did you guys come down here and, I guess, break the series open?
I feel like,
this
honestly,
guy right here.
Honestly, I feel like we watched so much film. We were so locked into everything that we were doing, every single practice. It was almost like we were going overboard in terms of making sure that every single thing was as perfect as it could be. I mean, you can attest to it. It was like every single second we're watching the same clips, learning the same thing. But that's just how it is when you got to beat a team like this. We're going to their home court. We know that they're one of the best teams in terms of making sure all 15 of their guys are ready to play, but we were ready ourselves.
For any of you, being first seed and now sweeping the series, was that the expectation from day one, or this result surpassed the expectation? And what's the expectation from now on?
I mean, the expectation, obviously you go in to expect to win every game. We know with a team like this, anything's possible. They're able to take a game. They're able to take 2 games. But the expectation was for us to play our brand of basketball, our level of intensity. And if we play like that every single night, I feel like we can sweep a lot of teams.
Donovan, there was a point in the second quarter, you guys were up by 34, and then there was a timeout, and you and Max had a passionate discussion about either an offensive breakdown or a defensive breakdown. What does that speak to?
Our desperation. I think we had another talk in the third quarter. I flopped and tried to draw a foul instead of contesting the 3. And Max was like, what the fuck is that? You know what I mean? Excuse my language, and I hope I don't get fined, but I'm very passionate about that stuff because that's what it takes. You know what I'm saying? Max and I have a great relationship in that regard. I really respect, him and his work ethic and what he sees. So, both times we both saw something and we were working on some things. We worked on the shows and I threw a bad pass. And it's all right, is it 2 dribbles off? Is it 1 dribble off? It's what are we looking for, throughout the series, and understanding that what ways we can capitalize for the next series. So, just ways to be, better on both ends of the floor, and then accountability as well.
Hey guys, congratulations. I just wanted to ask, what was the mood inside the locker room at halftime? You were obviously on a good run. Was there any talk at any given point not to let go? Were you guys aware of how well you were playing?
Yeah. The first half doesn't really mean much, especially with the way NBA and the 3-point shots and different things. So, it was a great start, but we got to finish our breakfast. At the end of the day, go out there and, set the tone in the third. And, I was really impressed. We didn't make shots to start the third for real. We kind of missed a few, and then we were still guarding. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I went 5 for 5.
Yes, you were 5 for 5. Selfish, bro. But just continuing to keep up that defensive effort, stay locked in. That was huge.
Donovan, you mentioned desperation a minute ago. How do you find that when you have a 3-0 series lead?
I think Jay, we all could speak. We 5 days of no basketball of rest. I think that's definitely, one way, but also too, understanding that how quickly a series can change if you give a team life. Last year, we only won 1 road game. We've only won 1 road playoff game since I've been here until this year. And for us, just never being satisfied. And it's really a test on ourselves, understanding that, yeah, we're up 3-0, but this is, our test is against ourselves. We like Jay said, when we're playing at our best, we feel like we're the best in the NBA. But it's the mental lapses. It's the little things that we can control. How are we continuously, handling those situations? So that desperation that I speak on is doesn't matter if it's 3-0, 4-0, 3-0, 2-0, 3-2, whatever it is. Understanding that it's really us against us, and our mistakes that we possibly compound could lead to breakdowns, which leads to losses. So understand that we got to be perfect and try to play as perfect as possible.
How different is the confidence level going into the next round this year, winning 4-0, versus last year where you had to go 7 games?
I'll tell you we're rested, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I think rest does a huge part in it. I don't feel like we're confident, but we're not overconfident. We know in this league, everything resets. The series is 0-0 back again, but we know that we're capable of playing at the highest level now.
Anything else, Monroe?
Very relaxed Cavalier team is moving on. And clearly Jimmy Butler won the confrontation with the Heat. Now feeling pretty good about himself. The Warriors playing as we speak. A zillion points. It's technically 55, but it might as well have been a zillion. See you, Tony. Let's get back inside and hear from Bam Adebayo.
Bam, Spo said post-game that it's a shame that this group is going to be remembered for this 4-0 sweep and these last two home games. Can you just kind of talk about just the general reactions coming off of that 55-point loss?
We lost.
Bam, what can you guys take away? I know we've asked a lot about how they're scheming, specifically Tyler, but in terms of how they defended you guys as a team, what can you take away from the series?
It's not even about how they defended us. I felt like we just weren't patient enough to see what they were doing. Especially the first quarter, just quick shots. Just playing random basketball. And as you know, in the playoffs, it can get ugly.
Bam, you've said a few times that this has been the roughest season of your career. Now that it ended tonight, how would you kind of sum up what this season's been like for you and just the team?
I mean, a lot of ups and downs. But we fought at the end of the day. So, I mean, you're talking about a 10th seed that made the playoffs. That's one more victory we can leave with, but, this has got to fuel a lot of us going into the off season. You got a lot of time to understand what happened today, look at and remember how this felt. And then you come back next year and see what happens.
Yeah, you spoke a lot about the experiences throughout the season, like the 10-game skid and how that could build some sort of character. Can you just kind of talk about maybe that being the one bright side from this all is that, again, going into next season is going to fuel you guys?
Yeah, definitely going to fuel us from that standpoint. Like I said, we got to let go of this rope a long time ago. We could have quit during the 10-game winning streak and just been just cough up the season. The organization, the coaches, players. But we were obsessed with trying to dig ourselves out of the hole and to push yourself to a point where you give yourself a chance. That's all you can ask for, from my point of view with, the younger guys watching, them understanding that you never know what can happen in this league. You put a little faith and obsession into it.
Bam, 2 straight years of losing in the first round, and obviously you guys hold yourselves to a higher standard than that. What do you think needs to change?
What needs to change? I don't know. It's going to be a lot of changes this summer. Just from my point of view, understanding how, the guy with the silver hair works. So just be prepared for that. And, for me, man, it's understanding got to figure out how to win a game in the playoffs. You understand how hard it is when you actually get into these trenches. So you take that and you figure it out.
Bam, obviously they take the captaincy around here very seriously. And, you have that title for a reason, but at the same time, you've probably learned along the way that there's certain things you can control and certain things you can't. How frustrating is it when you want certain things and just can't will them into existence, even with that captaincy?
How you said, man, it comes with the territory sometimes. Understanding that you can only control what you can control. For me, it's controlling the locker room. And that's trying to get guys ready for basketball games, which obviously I didn't do well at, especially this last game. So, going into the summer, I got a lot to think about and how I can bounce back from this.
When Spo was just up there, he was talking about the plane ride you guys had after the play-in and just like how much fun that plane ride was. What do you remember from that moment? And I guess how do you cherish like some of those smaller victories you had this year in light of everything?
I mean, we've been through a lot this year. So for me, man, it's just you got to enjoy the small moments. We play basketball 9 to 10 months out the year. And you got to enjoy those small moments because you'll never know when you get those back. You know, you never know who's going to be in the locker room next year. So being able to enjoy those moments, you know, in real time, it definitely makes it bigger than basketball.
Thank you, Ben. Tough way to go out for the Heat, who lost their 8th straight home postseason game and were on the wrong end of the 4th largest margin of victory or defeat, depending on your perspective, in NBA playoff history, 55. All right, we move forward, as do the Cavaliers, who get to the conference semifinals for the 2nd straight year, where they will face, it seems more likely, the Indiana Pacers, but potentially the Milwaukee Bucks. What are you looking for out of those potential matchups?
Well, you talk about a Pacer team. We both played in that Rick Carlisle system, and the ability to space guys out, 5 guys that can, you know, play, make, hit threes. It's going to be a little bit more challenging for Cleveland in that standpoint. But obviously, if they're playing this type of defense and they're playing this type of way, it's going to be a good series. I don't know if it'll be a sweep, but I don't think any one of those teams match up with how Cleveland's playing right now.
I agree. I think they're going to try to be physical with Halliburton. Obviously, he's very good at facilitating, so you can't allow him to have big scoring night and a big assist night. You can't have his double-double, and I think that's one thing that you have to give I think you just let Halliburton score. And when you do that, I mean, not let him, but you put the pressure on him, but he has to beat you, and you stay home on their shooters. And he's going to have some big nights, but if other guys aren't doing it, I feel like they're going to struggle because they have to guard them on the other end as well.
Yeah, a little like what the Timberwolves did with Luka Doncic the other day. He got just one assist.
One assist, which is crazy to hear.
But you got a high-paced, high-octane offense, and you got the number 1 defense. Something's going to have to give.
Right.
Yeah. Very different challenge for sure. The way Indiana moves the ball around, they pass more than any other team in the playoffs, and they have been humming offensively so far. But that is assuming they can finish off the Bucks, which they have a chance to do tomorrow. That finishes off this edition of Playoff Central Live. Stick around a little later on. We'll be back after Game 4 between the Rockets and the Warriors. We'll see you after that one's over.